Well, for the first time, a turreted version of the special Polish 𝗕𝘇𝘆𝗴 mechanic of damage drop-off at a distance, but no longer finagling with 5 degrees per side of fixed mounted gun traverse arc. You have it on a heavy tank. Even though DPM is not as high, takes longer to reload, has a cupola weak spot, and only 5 degrees of gun depression. So not as strong as you would think, but the WZ-64 Bzyg or Hoverfly, thick armor on the pike hull front, 230. It is not as well angled as a IS-7 per se, but it's still pretty thick, covering up the driver in the front. The turret front is like a 45 degree 200mm base plate, so that's about root 2 of 200, about the same as a E100 upper plate for the turret front. Has a mantlet. You could get shot like this area when you're wiggling about your turret to throw off the shot into the cupola, so this might be a weak spot when you're trying to throw off shots, but we'll have to see. It is angular, it's not as rounded as you would think, but yeah, that's 45 degrees on the turret front. That is very boxy from the side. It is a big caliber gun with a big alpha, but at a distance, damage drop off to like 1000 DPM. 200 alpha gun practically at 500 meters or so for like 15 seconds of reload with a rammer. So not great, but we're getting a lot of tier 10s, we're getting a lot of tier 9s. You guys mentioned might be a catalyst for tier 11s, but yeah, tier 11s will be like a grind fest, like a freaking grind wall to get to a tier 11, so you'll see a lot of tier 10s and tier 9s, I guess. We're done with tier 8s, right? Tier 8 is done. Out of the puddle of tier 8s. Now we're flooding with tier 9 premiums and tier 10s special tanks. But in the slew of recent tier 10s, this one doesn't really compete with the likes of VZ-60S. It's about the same power level as a Schwarzwald or the Killer Whale for the German, right? About the same, but some aspects of this vehicle seem pretty strong at close range, but otherwise some other aspects are kind of terrible. So it's a real flat turret on the back end. Machine gun on top, it's useless. You cannot even use it, unfortunately. But let's see, 800 alpha at 50 meter or less to 200 alpha at like above 500 meters. So yeah, it's a star-shaped barrel, special gun mechanics, whoopee. But shell velocity is quick, of course, which is good, even though you're not supposed to be sniping with it. But base penetration is alright. It's about the same as any other gun, heavy tanks at tier 10, but 18.5 seconds of reload, 3 seconds of aim time, 5 degrees gun depression, 0.4 accuracy. The gun's not accurate, right? Even for the NC70, that gun has surprising accuracy if you're not just moving about. Also, 5 degrees of gun depression in today's economy doesn't do it that much. You need at least like 7 or 8. Also, IS-7 has like 6 degrees of gun depression. Funny enough. 40 rounds, 4-man crew. Yeah, fits the 60 TP more or less, but about 13.9 horsepower per ton ratio. And only 36 kilometers per hour top speed. It is a breakthrough, not assault. It is the same category as the IS-7, but doesn't have like what, 60 kilometers per hour top speed with like 16, 17 horsepower per ton ratio. So definitely not as fast as the IS-7. About the same health as well. 200 on the turret front, 230 on the hull front. Side armor's kind of crap. It's also kind of blind too. Oh, 380. That sucks. IS-7 has 400 meters of base view range. Yeah, in comparison to stuff like this thing has the mobility. Look at this horsepower per turn ratio without turbocharger. And top speed, right? I have the improved hardening, so health is about the same, fine. But yeah, this thing has, it should have 400 meters of base view range. 400 meters of base view range compared to your 380. 380 is like tier 8. Crappy tier 8, but still. Ugh. It's blind. It's not fast. And armor is debatable, right? At least for the turret. There's no cupola weak spot on the IS-7. There's a lip for the hatch, like right there, but it's a very small target. Also, 6 degrees of gun depression too. So you might have better DPM than this gun, but at a distance, you're useless. So I don't know. This one-trick pony of a big caliber gun doesn't really do it that much. But then again, there is a hidden factor of flexibility with the gun, right? Compared to the NC-70, the 𝗕𝘆𝗴. Having a turret means a big difference between stuff like the Waffentrigger off E100 in comparison to stuff like the Foch B with the 120. So there's a slight difference, but you adjust to target much more easily with stuff like the T28 Proto than the T28. Another comparison or analogy, but yeah, this thing doesn't have the health, doesn't have the actual side armor, doesn't look like Space Armor 2 on the hull sides, so unlike the IS-7, it has Space Armor on the hull sides. Doesn't look that fast. Camo's mediocre-ish. And view range is blind. Blindish for a tier 10 heavy tank. So very much close range. So all you have is the DPM. But basically, the Super Conqueror has that DPM. The can opener has that DPM. Without the gun gimmick of not having that DPM at a distance, right? Also, the lack of gun depression. Big deal in today's meta. And choices of maps by wargaming. So you have so many hull down position. And you cannot even take advantage of it. With your 5 degrees of gun depression, right? So yeah, it is limited by this little nook on top of the gun. Therefore, not enough space for the breach to go gun depression, I guess. But that's the fault of the design. Soviet developments for equipping deep rifle guns with a higher muzzle velocity. Classic heavy tank with the welded halter, the radar. Okay, somehow it has English description for acrylic based actual labels for some reason. Alright, fine, whatever. But yeah, this vehicle doesn't feel that strong. It might be intimidating to look at, but in reality, all nominal effective turret front armor on tier 10 heavy tanks are roughly 350 now, or at least 400, right? Or at least 300. So you're not actually penetrating unless you hit weak spots, but it's very hard to hit weak spots with 0.38 accuracy. So yeah, you can bully like tier 9s and tier 8s, fine, but otherwise, what's the purpose, right? Unless you fire high explosive. This thing doesn't have the reload of the tank destroyers. What's making the NC-70 scary is it's about 13 seconds of reload. 13 seconds without a rammer. It's like 11.5 seconds with the rammer. Yeah, close enough with Brothers in Arms, but that's why this thing is scary, right? That's how fast it reloads with crazy DPM at close range. Also has more alpha at a range than 200 at 500 meters. So, I mean, you have the more flexible turning than the 5 degrees per side of gun traverse arc, but this thing has 7 degrees of gun depression compared to 5. It's also almost the same view range too. Oh god. So unless this vehicle has like 13 seconds of reload, or at least 15 seconds of reload, we could consider it with like 0.36 accuracy. Yeah, 0.34. You could actually somewhat snipe with this thing. Somewhat, right? Compared to like 0.38 accuracy. So we'll have to see the actual dispersion or traversing and some of the other smaller soft stats, but yeah, you would rather play something else, I would think. In today's economy, you would rather play with something else. There's way too much gimmick and RNG with this vehicle, right? You have to be very close range. You cannot even take hull down position. You cannot really side scrape. It's only about the gun, but if you're playing about the gun, might as well play with the NC70. But it's like comparing the Object 268 version number 5 compared to the actual normal version, the one with the turret on the IS-8 body, than the actual IS-7 body without the turret. But I mean, there is a degree of comfortableness in comparison of a turreted version of the gun, right? You have more time to adjust to targets, easier time to adjust to targets than not, but I don't know, right? This thing is not a heavy tank though. You're actually sniping from the back. Same with this, but you're playing a heavy tank without the actual accuracy, right? To go DPMing. Yeah, the same way. Yeah, better DPM than this thing with rammer equipped. But then again, it doesn't lose the damage drop off. Doesn't have the shell velocity. You know, it's still 5 degrees of gun depression. Oh no. Wait, this thing has like how much health? Just 200 less than your Bzyg. This thing has better horsepower per ton ratio and better top speed without turbocharger. Oh boy. So it's like a weird hybrid of want to be a tank destroyer, but you're having catered armor for a heavy tank playstyle, even though the gun doesn't really perform that great, right? Kind of weird when you think about it. For a breakthrough heavy, this is a classic breakthrough heavy, right? You have the mobility, you have the armor, you have the firepower. Get to where you're going, big damage, right? This vehicle doesn't have the mobility. Firepower is there, but you need the gun depression in today's meta, right? Or at least gun depression or strong turret front. One of the which. Having both is great, but this doesn't really have both. You have a 𝗕𝘆𝗆, you have a flat turret base or sides. Gold shell will go through this armor, I believe. About 350-ish millimeter pen high explosive at the tank, that will go through. Unless you're hull down. But if you're hull down, don't have that much gun depression. You could hide the 𝗕𝘆𝗆 slightly, but you don't have the chance to fire back. So this thing doesn't have the gun depression. Only 6, but still very strong turret front, hull front too. So yeah, today's economy, you need to have one or the other or both. But I would say rammer, vertical stabilizer, improved hardening. It's tier 10, so you get more benefits out of the HP buff out of improved hardening. You could put vents, but it's not a special breakthrough. Not like a support, like a AMX 50B or the MBTB. That doesn't count. Special experimental equipment. So, unlike support vehicles with vents, normally you would go with improved hardening on these vehicles. Yeah, improve hardening, improve hardening, improve hardening. Always improve hardening. Rammer and vertical stabilizer. Classic setup, right? Classic. And field mods wise, for breakthrough, track health or better mobility. Better mobility than track health if you already have improved hardening, right? Make it go faster, especially on vehicles like the IS-7. Go faster, always go faster. Accuracy or aim time. Both are kind of meh. I mean, at least it's not like 3 seconds of aim time, but accuracy could be helped. I would say accuracy. Sometimes you need to snipe at weak spots, even though you have a big alpha gun. 260mm pen is not the craziest. Accuracy. Most of the time it's accuracy. Unless it's super crap for both. Accuracy. View range. Then stun duration. You have no view range. It's just a better view range. Sometimes no artillery. Sometimes artillery is not even shooting at you. Sometimes you're behind cover. Better view range. Top speed or traverse speed. Top speed. 4 is crazy for a heavy tank. So you have like 30-ish. 36. 4. Definitely. That's almost a turbocharger in this case. 4 for top speed. And dispersion while traversing or vehicle hit points. You don't get that much hit points buff out of this. 100. Whoa, whoopee. Traverse or dispersion better, right? While traversing and moving. Especially for the gun. Switch targets easier and deals more damage than 100 hit points. So overall, this vehicle doesn't really compare to the power levels of a IS-7 per se, but also compared to the recent stuff like the VZ60S. That's a pretty decent vehicle too. It's check. 60S. I mean, the power level on this breakthrough also is that this thing has mobility too. It's not as crazy of a top speed, but at least 17 horsepower per ton ratio. Has also the firepower, very quick aim time, good accuracy too, 8 degrees gun depression, no cupola weak spots other than this little lip on the commander cupola. And health is the same, highly sloped frontal upper plate, and loincloth covering the bottom plate, and side skirts as well, better camo, and not garbage view range, right? At least a little bit better. So yeah, this vehicle seems a lot better in power level than your gimmicky, close range, no gun depression version of an NC70. So yeah, this thing feels like a 4. Doesn't feel that great, right? Average damage decreases with distance. So you are close range. You don't have the mobility to get to close range. And once you do, you have no gun depression to make full use of all the map designs by Wargaming. So you don't have the side armor to side scrape too. Ugh. You don't have the view range to counter. It's like a 4. Right? At best, a 4. You have a very gimmicky gun. I mean, smart players will easily take advantage of hull down position to counter you. Shooting at the cupola, shooting at the base flat plate or slope flat plate of your turret cheeks. Or even just get to the sides. There's no side skirts, but the looks of it. There's no side skirts. So, unlike the IS-7, you can actually side scrape. You can actually go hull down in the IS-7. Pike hull front is also pretty strong, but yeah, there's way too much variables with a gun to outperform anything else. If this thing has like 60-ish, 70-ish kilometers per hour top speed, or at least 50, with like 16 horsepower per ton ratio, 15 horsepower per ton ratio, and 8 degrees gun depression, yeah, we could talk. It's about the same power level as a VZ60S, but now it's not that great. I can name so many downsides with this vehicle. There's not that many upsides. Not really, right? When you think about it. The scariness of the Alpha, but you don't have to reload. You don't have the 13 seconds, 11 seconds of reload compared to the NC70. So you're not really DPMing all that much. Yeah, it looks like 2,700 DPM. Yeah, it's not as consistent as 2,500 on shells that does not drop off in damage, right? Or compared to stuff like the Conquerors, the can openers of tier 10, right? It's about the same DPM as this thing. This thing has consistent damage with gun depression and no turret weak spots on the cupola, or mostly, when you're gun depressed. Right, mostly. But you cannot gun depress. You cannot you cannot have the mobility. You don't have the side armor. It's like a 4. You'll have better time, even in the short wall, than this vehicle, I believe. Short wall has 2 driver hatch weak spots, or even the radio operator weak spots, but still, strong turret front too. It's a assault. It's not really breakthrough. Short wall. the driver hatch, the radio operator thingy-majig. Yeah, this thing is a strong turret front. No cupola weak spots. You have the weak spots, supposedly, for the driver hatch, for the radio operator. Yeah, radio operator, but that's still 240. That's still 250. And this thing also has 8 degrees of gun depression to make it even better. So you'll have a better time with the short wall. I think it also has better side armor too. 110. Not including the cheeks, but cheeks are 230 too. So you'll have better timing this thing with a different playstyle, but still. Also not lacking DPM. View range is not the worst. I forgot this thing has rocket boosters. Crap. Oh yeah, this thing has rockets. I totally forgot. Yeah. So yeah, this vehicle feels very basic. Very meh. 4 out of 10. Well, there we go, folks. The Bzyg. The Hoverfly. It looks like a yellow jacket. It's not. It's like... I look up Hoverfly. I saw these in the wild. So it kind of looks like a yellow jacket or bee, but... it's harmless. It's practically a fly that doesn't land on shit all the time. So... yeah, it's whatever. Oh, it's only North America. Oh. Probably not in Europe. I don't know if these make it to Europe, but these are harmless. They're normal house flies, except they don't land on shit all the time, but they're pretty much harmless. So yeah, this is meh. 4 out of 10. So as always, thank you guys for watching this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
あれが未来に何度でもずっと食らいつくこの間違いだらけの世界の中